First, thank you very much for joining us to our panel today at the Community Day. And the panel is about scaling Android, or Android at scale. As you can see, we have some more faces than on the screen. We scaled already for you. We have now two more people. And let me introduce first our panelists today. I will start with Maya. She's a principal Android engineer at Luno in South Africa. Wonderfully, at least one thing I got correct for now. She's doing mobile development since 2010. I think career is a bit longer, I would guess, if I remember correctly, LinkedIn. And they scaled their team in Luna. 2 years ago, they had 7 people. Now they have about 20 and probably will be larger in the future. Next one would be Fatih. He's a lead Android engineer at DNB. That's a bank in Norway. And he's doing Android more than 5 years. And I think slowly the people will explain what they really did in the scaling area for their team. So I don't take all the credits for them. We have Cesar, working at Microsoft as in the Surface Duo developer team, plus the app experience. I don't know how many years, but I think it's probably a decade already. We have Sergen. He's an Android engineer at DoorDash, doing Android since Gingerbread. And last but not least, we have Sergio. He's a lead Android dev at AppDev, who's also a sponsor here. They have a booth, so if you want to talk with him, feel free later on. And he's doing Android also. More than 5 years, definitely. It's 8 years. And we have some questions. But before I start our questions, I also asked already on Twitter, I got some questions. But if you have any of the questions to the audience which you want to have an answer or an idea, use one of the microphones standing in the middle of the area. Stay there, and then hopefully we will take you immediately when we have an open slot for you. So my first question to the people in the round. So I wonder how you stay as a team efficient if you are quite big, not just 2 or 3 people anymore, and how you avoid having bottlenecks with such a big team. Who wanted to be the first one giving a small answer? Feel free. Fatih, enjoy.
I can start probably. So in the bank, so we're not really a huge team, but we are a team of 8 people. So we are going to be 10 soon. But we don't really have a platform team. We're going to be thinking of having one, but currently we don't have it. So you can think of, we have the technical tasks and we also have the features. So we're trying to spend our 1/3 of time with the technical tasks, so everybody knows that, which means that every 1 day in a week, so we're spending our times with the technical task, and the rest of it goes for bugs and features. So I think it's really working fine for us since we don't have a platform team. So it lets us to work with the technical stuff as well as the feature and bugs.
Okay, Maya, as you have a really biggest team, I think, in the round here, how you go into that direction?
Yeah, so we started with a small team where everybody did everything. And now, the thing that I want to do is not have a developer feel like they're like just one cog in a wheel in like a big system. So we have those cross-functional teams that build the features. And that team feels like a startup. So that team has maybe Android, iOS, web, backend, data people, designers. So that's a really tight-knit, working almost like a startup, looking at a particular customer journey or customer aspect of the team. The problem with a single developer in a startup is that you have that disconnect from what's happening in the rest of the Android community if you're working on your own. So to fix that, we have a strong competency team. So we have 20 Android engineers working together, and the whole competency works together as a team as well. So we have certain communication channels as the competency. We have Slack channel, we've got meeting of minds meetings, and we have info sessions where people can practice public speaking and share knowledge. So that the single Android engineer in his small team or her small team gets supported by the competency team as a whole. And then on top of that, we have a platform team that helps to set direction, helps to make the code base consistent. so that the teams have an example of how to implement things, and it helps to, even if, say, the individual Android engineer prefers RX Java, the team is not using RX Java, we're using this particular pattern. And that also means that that team can do refactors without getting pressure from a PM that says we need to ship a feature. So that's basically the structure.
Okay, Cesar, I think your team doesn't develop directly, probably the SDKs, which I hope everyone uses, the Do SDKs for Surface. How is your team doing that? Because I think most of them are engineers, a lot of probably more technical writers who do the documentation. How do you arrange these ones with your big team? Or also, can you explain how many people are really working behind the Surface Duo SDK and the whole platform?
Yeah. Actually, we work very similar as Maya has mentioned now, because our team is around 15 developers or something like that. I think maybe more. But we don't do just library. We also do make apps and samples and so on. So then how we operate is very similar to, so we split the developers in like a super small teams, and then for instance, they do one, I don't know, a couple of them they are building a specific library, another 2 or 3 they are building a specific app or sample, or when they finish the libraries, then they do the documentation, the public documentation for later, then prepare as well blog posts and so on. So there is always something to do, and whenever, for instance, I don't know, for instance, a library developer is tired or wants to try something new, since we are also building other things like apps, or we do also like this social thing, like kind of advocacy, also can move, so there is always something to do, and there is not, exactly, you are not bored about doing always the same. Yeah.
Of course, I can also add something from my time when I was working at Check24. Actually, when I started, we were like 10 developers, and after 5.5 years, when I left, we were around 90 developers, so we were split it into different teams for each product and so on. And there were teams that only had one developer, and for them it could be pretty hard to solve some of the problems. So what we had was a Slack channel, of course. Also, we had a lot of technical talks once a month at the beginning, then it was postponed because there were not so many people interacting, but they were still happening every 3 months. But there was always support, so when somebody needed help, and before the pandemic, you could come to them if they were based in the same city and do pair programming or whatever, and otherwise you can always call them, solve problems. That's about getting things done as a team.
That sounds good. But I think probably Cesar is the only one where you are not just on one location, probably all over the world. But I think second with DoorDash, you have several locations. How you manage the scale up on these areas?
At DoorDash, we have many locations of offices, and the way we have set up is that we have different teams, just like everybody. We don't have one central Android team. So there are teams that have missions, their own kind of missions and goals and things they work on. But at the same time, we maintain an identity of like the Android engineers. And we have like different meetings that help us organize together as Android engineers. We have channels where we discuss Android topics. We have channels where we share interesting articles, conferences, just to keep the spirit of the Android community going. Yep.
Sounds really good. So I think all of you have now several years of experience with the scaling up. What you think is what was the best decision your team made? And probably what of these ideas you had you wouldn't recommend to do it again?
Actually, I can start with the good decisions to be made. That decision happened before I entered the company. I'm also talking about Check24. So basically, there are different products. Like you have, it's a comparison portal for those who do not know Check24. And there are different products like flights, hotels, and so on, and they compare prices. And there was a very good architecture pattern then at the beginning that we had something like internal library. So every product, we call it plugin, had its own internal library and uploaded to a server, and then you can define dependencies. So we had also, we call it umbrella app. So you have the core that basically provides functionality to the other products, like navigating to the correct product and so on. And the thing is, it was done in such a way that, yeah, you could basically easily integrate. See, if a new product comes, you just copy-paste things, you use the Gradle dependencies to download that, and that's it. And it was before the Gradle modules, yeah, before this modularization started, so long time ago. And it really made Check24 scale very, very, very fast. It's a concept that I have not seen in other companies I work for, because they were maybe not so big, but I think it was a very great decision.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I can go. I think for us it was the internal theming system. Like we have our own theming guidelines and internal theming library. So before, when I joined the team, we didn't have anything. And then everything had to be kind of like done in the feature part. But now then we created this internal theming library so that it's just like the material theming library. And then we build our components on top of it so that it can be reused across the whole DMB apps, in the banking apps. So now, if you want to create a new feature, so it's kind of very easy because you already have the components, and then you don't need to think about the theming or the attributes because it's already there. That being said, there's still some learning curve because it's another library, but we're trying to teach the new developers about everything when they join the team.
Sounds good. Oh, yeah.
I can go. I've got two pieces. The one is to do with the decision that the company made, that they took a long time to think about, but from the start of the pandemic, the policy is remote but reachable. So what that means is that as the engineers can choose if they want to work in an office or if they want to work remotely, and that allows us to have people working all over the world, and that allows us to have really diverse teams in different places. It allows me to come to DroidCon and be able to work from here as well. So that, from a scaling perspective, is an excellent choice because it opens up the job market to more people and it opens up the teams to have more diverse teams. From a technical point of view, our good choice was to use existing architecture patterns. So that means when people come on board, they can learn quickly, and that scales really quickly. The time that we decided not to use the library was our navigation. So at the time, I was thinking that maybe that's a bad idea to home roll our navigation. But now, seeing with the moves into modularization, I'm thinking that maybe that was a good idea, and so the navigation might actually be easy from a modularization point of view.
Coming from that point where you said your navigation, and we all now compose a new thing, which everyone wants to use or has to use at one point, that your new navigation works with Compose as well quite good, or do you have to really rewrite your own navigation around it?
So we're at the beginning of our Compose journey. We have Compose code in the app, but we're at the point where I'm putting guidelines to see how we incorporate Compose. And what I need to do first, as a team, we need to first get the guidelines and the lint rules. Otherwise, our PR approvals will get bottlenecked on only a few people that can approve. From the navigation point of view, I think our navigation is going to be fine because our decision was to go from the component up and keep our fragments for now. So our navigation will be able to navigate the fragments.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be fine. I hope so.
But I just heard now good stuff which you said, but I said I want also some points from you which you regret. So who has anyone who regrets a decision in the last year with the scaling area where you said, well, we fucked up at that point and I don't want to do the same thing in any company which I join again, and how you can tell the people that they don't do the same stuff? Is there anything?
I can go, but it's from like one of my previous experiences.
It's fine. No one wants to blame your own company you're currently working for.
Yeah, one of the big mistakes we made, I joined the team around when we started a rewrite, but we didn't do it quite right because we did not have a design system to work with. So a lot of our designs, of our screens were like we were specifying colors everywhere. We had so many kinds of colors. And the problem only revealed itself during a hackathon with some of our teammates where we tried to support dark mode or night mode on the thing, and it fell apart because we had colors everywhere specified in code, in XML files. And during the hackathon, what we tried to do was to clean up some of these things and make it, and use the theme attributes and the style attributes and all of that, following the material design system. So that was like how we kind of like rectified the thing, and it's like been on top of my mind like since then. Like before you start, like define the themes and the styles that you want to use, and don't just use colors everywhere. And basically, yeah, it was that.
Anyone else something to regret?
I can actually link both. Like the cool thing that we did in order to so to have the different small teams that we have to work better, making libraries, making apps, is that so the apps use our libraries. So we have the idea, okay, we want to bring a library to the external developers as well, no? I mean, it's the main focus to external developers, but we should be the ones that we eat our own dog food, no? So we are the ones that when we build our apps, we also use our components. What we did maybe wrong at the beginning was to take the assumption that because we are the same team, the same Microsoft, the same Surface org, all of them they were going to use our libraries without really communicating a lot. So exactly one of the mistakes was that we should have communicated better. That is something that now we are doing much better. So then they are aware about, okay, this is a new update of this specific library. This is a new release or even a new, completely new library that can help you in this specific scenario and so on. So yeah, this will be good and bad.
Maybe I can give one more example. So I have said like we created our internal design system, and then we were trying to make things easier for the developers so that they don't need to even like know each and everything inside the color palette, for example, like in material theme, like let's say you have this primary color, but we decided that, okay, developer doesn't need to know about it maybe, and then they can just find it by searching. For example, if they're searching for a toolbar or something, they should be able to find an attribute called toolbar background, which is using the color primary or something under the hood. So we have followed this, and then we saw that like the number of attributes that is actually created there is increasing like hell. Then at the end, everybody was asking if we should create a new attribute now or if we should use the color palette. So it was, I think, a bit confusing, and at some point we said that, okay, we're not going to go in this direction. We're going to just stop using the other attributes, and we're going to kind of maybe teach the developers what are the color attributes inside the colors, the theming system, so that everybody can just use it. And another example, it's not really related technically maybe, but it's the team structure, I guess. When I joined the team, it was 40 people in our team, 40-ish, and now we're more than 200 people. So the technical stuff was working fine, like we were just fixing the things, the technical things in the Android team. But I think at some point we needed to kind of like synchronize with the people from the product side more, and then said that maybe like we need a platform team, because right now we see the need of a platform team. So I think, yeah, we're going to have it soon, but yeah, that was my experience.
Okay, you just pointed to the platform team. I have it also on my wonderful sheet. So what you think a platform team should take care of, or what they shouldn't do? Or, yeah. You can start, because you already mentioned it.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the platform team is like maybe should not only for features, but okay, so we have maybe the feature teams, but the platform teams is kind of responsible for each and every technical stuff. On top of that, maybe in our bank, for instance, there are some teams who wants to do some POCs with our apps. But nobody is actually kind of owning those features. So maybe it's not the platform team's responsibility maybe, but like maybe we can call it some other team, and then we can give that responsibility to that team so that they can both work with some feature stuff as well as the technical stuff.
Has anyone other on platform team or something similar?
Yes, I can add something. So for platform team, I'd say reusable components, consistency. Our platform team has the metric of the crash stats and performance. So the platform team is responsible to check the crashes. That doesn't mean we fix the crashes, but it does mean that that I see on a Monday, I look, and if I see things are not right or at other regular intervals, that gets, so that there's somebody responsible for that. Those are important, but the consistency thing is the decide on the architecture directions and the patterns. So that stops like bike shedding too much, and it also makes the code base consistent. Having said that, it's not completely a dictatorship, because the platform team can't decide on a pattern that doesn't suit the feature teams. So there'll always be some POC type of PR saying, this is how we propose, what do people think, and then some adjustments.
Yep. I think we have the first question from the audience, or am I wrong?
Test, okay. Actually, I had this question in mind already, but it's like really related to Maya's last, like one of the points in the last answer. So it's about like metrics like crashes or performance. So like in a big team, like imagine you have like 10 teams and you have a platform team. So yeah, as you mentioned a good thing, like the platform is not responsible for fixing everything, like performance issues and crashes. So in terms of shifting this to even more left, so two parts of the question: how do you distribute this, like make it more visible? Like how do you identify, like for example, one team is responsible for that performance problem? So how do you identify it? Or also the next step, maybe how do you encourage those teams to be even more proactive so they are responsible or discover these themselves without like platform team telling them to do?
Okay, I can take that. So the way I've structured with the team is, yes, there's the platform team, we're doing all of the refactors. But I have in my team some senior Android people, but they're sitting all over the Android competency. They all have their speciality areas. And we run on a build pipe release train. So every 2 weeks, the release goes beta out to production. And the responsibility to look at the release rotates. So in a way, it's rotating through the feature teams to be the responsible person for the release. Part of the responsibility for the release person is to also check crashes. So platform is checking the numbers, making sure the percentage doesn't go down, but my release engineers are also checking. So then that particular release engineer might be in the onboarding part of the app, but he sees there's a crash in transaction, then they would approach that part, because the rule there is also you don't have to fix your own crash, you just have to highlight. That also gives the benefit of that people can go on holiday. We have enough people that manage that, and I know I'm here now, I'm not looking now, but I've got 4 other people that are also watching the crashes and that are also watching the releases. It also kind of makes, it's not like a competition, but it's just like people, it's not their pod, so the other pods take responsibility, and you don't want to be the pod that's making the crashes happen, right? I mean, it happens to everybody, but yeah, so we've got that going. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Maybe a quick follow-up. How do you then define the priority? Like it's between 2 teams, right? And then the product managers involved. So, like how do you define if it is like has to really fix at the moment, like as a hot fix, or can it be done later?
So what we do is we look at the numbers. So the numbers of the crashes in beta, we know how many users, and we know that if this escalates, it's gonna. So that would be one way to make a decision. But we also have a completely separate support team that handles all of the support calls, and they have the authority to call a P1 that has to be fixed right away. So we don't have to say the priority. I can advise and say, this crash is going to escalate, we need to do it. But if we get a P1 from support, there's no team that has to say, we're not going to do this now, because it's an external party that says it's got to be fixed.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I actually have like an additional comment to that. At one of the companies I worked at, we had a framework for determining priorities. Like it was consistent, and I like that because it was like a framework. It's not very subjective. So we can consistently determine if an issue is a P0, P1, P2, P3. And what we looked at was it affecting the critical path? What's the estimate of how many users it's going to affect? If there's an issue on, I don't know, in the account settings, how many people are going to get there, and all of this. So we have like a table. So if this is this and this, then it's P0. If it's this and this, then it's P1. And I really like that framework. Unfortunately, I've not had it in any of the companies I've worked after then, but it was really nice. And I think it's something people should consider.
Yeah, we have exactly that. And those P numbers, they have like, I think P0 means stop.
Yes.
Everybody, all Android engineers, we fix this right now. It has a certain SLA, like a few amount of hours that it needs to be working, yeah.
Wonderfully, you answered the question. So just jumping in directly at the KPI level, where you have the KPI for the errors, do you have any other KPIs that you as a team have to be responsible for? Where you say, if you scale your team, some KPIs are more important than beforehand. Is there something like that for you as a team?
I can take this as well. So I think my personal philosophy is like, if everyone is supposed to do something, then no one is going to do it. So there's some topics that we have to like attribute to specific teams. There are some topics that are generic, and then each team have a responsibility in that topic as well. For example, like crashes, for example, the affected component, the team that owns it is responsible for it. So they have their own KPIs of what stability they want to have. But when I worked on an infrastructure team, basically a platform team, what we had was we had KPIs for app startup time, we had KPIs for crash rates, percentile, we had KPIs for other Android app vitals, and the platform team basically owned that because we realized there were more than 120 developers, Android developers. So we realized like we can't have everybody own this. So we had to like find a team to own this, and then we broke down the platform team, the infra team into like performance related and developer experience. So the performance team was able to take care of all of these KPIs.
Wonderfully, Sergio. You are not working for Check24 anymore. You are now more or less, it's an agency, consultancy?
Exactly, it's a consultancy.
How you do it as a consultant if you go to a company and you see whatever they did as a scaling is where you say you wouldn't recommend it to do that again to anyone. How you tell it, because I think also there's probably a lot of consultants here as well, and they have to learn to talk with the clients. If it's their own product, you can approach it differently, you have a different responsibility. But how you would do it as a consultant, as one from the outside, being just there for 1 or 2 months?
Yeah, so I think that the first that you have to do when you enter a new team is try to understand how the team works, yeah? Because every team, I can tell you, every team has different processes, different way to work, and so on. You have to understand how the team works and then try to find what are the weaknesses or how can it be improved. And actually, it's very, very hard to change the mindset of some people. You have to find a way, and it's a long process. You don't succeed always, I can tell you. I have also some failures. Yeah, and
so what was the failures?
Yeah, I couldn't come.
No, you don't have to say the names of the companies, of course, because you still probably want to work with them in the future. But in general, what was the main area where you say where you didn't succeed?
So the team I was working on didn't do too many testing, and for me it was a little bit complicated. I'm very used to testing, and I write all about testing and so on. And I wanted to convince the team that the value that it brings, because I had the feeling that every 2 releases we were doing bug fixing, and yeah, unfortunately I didn't get the team into that mood. Yeah. Things happen, yeah.
I think
that's why I
have
left.
a question.
Sorry.
No problem. Hello. So I'm curious, I want to hear more about where is the line between the feature teams and the platform teams, especially when it comes to integrating the features in the whole app.
Who wants to take over?
We don't really have a platform team, so maybe I'm not the right person, but from our team, what I can say is like, if we're going to put some borders between the what is feature and what is the technical thing is, so as I said, we have a flexibility of spending 1 day in a week for the technical things, and we're having internal Android meetings inside the team. So if something needs to be fixed, it's just coming from the Android team in terms of technical, like for instance, if you want to just use some cool library, so of course you're going to have to do some POCs, but you have to kind of present it to the Android team so that you can spend your time in like that 1 day in that technical stuff, or you can just pick the one that is already existing from outside, as well as the other 4 days you can, that's actually up to your feature team deciding on what should be done and then owning the feature actually.
And I can ask, but I also need to, I can answer, but I also need to ask, what's like the team size right now?
So, for example, something like 5 or so people in a feature team.
Okay, because like the answer can vary differently depending on, if you have like 100 engineers, it's different from if you have like 20. So if you have like 20 engineers in general, I would say like the experience of the platform team engineers usually cuts across making the build stable and like all of that, like the performance of the general app. But also sometimes those kind of platform teams also find themselves working on features. Like, for example, if you wanted to make an update to the design system of the team and you don't have a dedicated design language, design system language team, this falls on the platform teams. So if it's feature specific and there is no clear owner, sometimes it falls on those kinds of platform teams, which is also not the best experience because it becomes like a dumping ground for all of the things that nobody owns. So you have to be really careful with those kind of situations to like make sure you assign those kind of things to specific teams. But if it cuts across the entire app, you could build like a special squad to solve these kind of problems.
I can add something there as well. Our platform team builds the reusable design components as well. And our feature teams have usually 1 or maybe 2 Android engineers, and they're very feature and deadline driven, so they're trying to ship a feature at a particular time. If they need some design component and we're blocking them, then we're not territorial about that as long as the pattern is consistent. If that team has more capacity and they feel they need to build that component, I'm not going to stop them. We have a conversation about it anyway, so it can go the one way or the other. So the platform team is prepared to take the responsibility, but if we don't have the capacity, then...
Who would be responsible for reviewing the change? Would it be still the platform team, or can the feature team decide, review their change, and ship?
So reviews are interesting. What we do is that everybody reviews all of the code, and we've got a structure set up so that I rotate the people through. So you might have 2 feature teams that you always review, and then next quarter you have different feature teams that you review. So we rotate around, so everybody ends up reviewing all of the code. It's not a perfect solution. We've got some problem with it, but at least I know that it means then that if someone is in one feature team and they need to move to another feature team, or they want to move to another feature team, they have some familiarity with the code as well. So there is some rotation.
Thanks.
Okay, next question from the audience.
Yeah, actually my question is regarding pull requests. When you have such a big teams, I didn't find a framework or approach that solves silos. Like my friend review to me, my partner review to the other one, then you have always the same review. My problem with that is like, professionally you get stuck in the same type of comments and the same type of ideas, and it's annoying. But I cannot find the other approach, like I have this link, who can review it, no one review it. But the thing is, like, how do you deal with this? You have a framework to set a strong community in the review area.
Yeah, so we have a framework. It's not perfect, but we have our feature teams. They've got names. Say we call them pods, pod earn, pod invest, whatever. And then I allocate, because what I was finding was that a lot of the easy pull requests, they get lots of reviews. and the difficult pull requests wait for days. So to change that, what we have is we have a rotation system, and you review these 2 or 3 pods work. And there's always a more senior person and some junior people, and then that changes every quarter, and then you just allocate. The problem with that system is that it's manual at the moment, and I have to balance it to make sure that everybody's got enough reviewers. And ideally, where I think we should be going is if we can manage to modularize the code and have code owner files so that you have reviews in certain areas, and I can do this kind of balancing process automatically, but at the moment it's just by spreadsheet.
Cesar, probably you can tell about the Microsoft way, because I think you are bigger than all of us together, I guess. So how we approach these areas as a big corporation?
Yeah, well, this is a good question. The thing is, so in Microsoft, every team, we have a lot of different teams. I think in total we are like 2,000 Android developers, something like that, in total. No? So counting all apps, so Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, Bing, Edge, many. So every specific team, they do differently, no? Their own approach, their own tech, their own language, their own processes, and so on. What we do, for instance, here in the Surface team, what we do is similar what they have said at the end. Also, we assign the pull request to a specific people that they are working in this specific area. Everyone, of course, is invited to check the pull request and so on. But these specific people that they have to review that, because it's the area, the area of ownership. And then we have also like a figure, like we could call it like the sheriff, no? That is always the one that, okay, gives the final review or push even to others, like, hey, I know that you know more about this area, please have a look. Yeah, I guess other teams follow kind of the same approach. Yeah.
Yeah, I can also add up to, in one of the teams I was working, there were a lot of pull requests hanging, yeah, and what they decided to do, or what we decided to do, is to have a meeting to decide who is going to review the pull request. And there were always 2 people reviewing that, and one of those should be in the same feature, in the same team as the one that opened the pull request.
So I've got another thing to add. I know about a tool. There's that DangerBot tool that will do pull request roulette and allocate people. So that would be a way to potentially automate.
Sounds interesting. But I think most of you definitely won't use Garrett as a tool for PRs. I guess that's a nightmare, I would say. But the answer that's your questions for now.
Yeah, I just want to add
one more remark, feel free.
Yeah.
Or do you want to have more opinions?
No, please, you can give me more, come on. No problem.
I have nothing. Do you want to add?
I can add from our team. So we don't have a platform team, so it means that we have to handle those kind of things inside our team. So when it comes to PRs, if it's a feature PR, you're going to probably have to add someone who has already worked about that feature in your in the organizational structure in the same feature theme. So you probably need to add that person plus 1 person to your PR. And if it's like platform topics, so we have this concept of champions. So like we have a tooling champion, security champion in the Android team. So who knows kind of better than the other people and who controls this thing. So you probably need to add that person as well in the PR. Yeah, this is how it works in our team as well.
Before I hand over to the next audience questions, I would at least give one Twitter person a chance to give a question. Of course, it's nothing that's technical, nothing directly with team, but the question was how or what are the factors that you think your team company, because of your scaling, make it attractive for people to join you in the company as a new member to help you scale up your team? Do you have any special things which you do with people? Because I know a lot of people probably doesn't want to work with a team of 20, 30 engineers. They want to do their own bubble. Let's leave it like that. Do you have any approaches to convince those people to come to such a team?
Are you talking about external hiring or people?
External hiring, not internal, because internal, they are already in your team at one point, I hope.
This is like from a very personal perspective. Like, I think employee branding is like really important for companies, and the ways I've seen companies approach this from my past is having an engineering blog. It does help, and constantly posting on it. I myself, if I'm looking for a job, I read through the engineering blog of the company. I look through their GitHub to see if they have an open source project. I see, do they have people who are active in the developer community? Do they have meetups in their offices? You know, all these kinds of things. I think these are topics that companies can do to like make the team more attractive to engineers outside.
Anyone else? An idea?
So for me personally, the remote option, that remote possibility of working is an attractive thing which I would just, if I'm imagining speaking to someone and they're asking why should they join my team, that would be one thing. The other thing to say is that if the team is a bit bigger, there are more opinions and you're definitely going to learn something. So learning about huge customer bases, learning on how to build software architecture so that it works together in a bigger team, that would be definitely an aspect. And then I would highlight the fact that there is a possibility to work in a small cross-functional team. So if you're looking for that tight-knit team experience, you can still have that within the larger team.
Okay. We just talked about remote, so also to the other question which comes now. So how you change your onboarding now with the time of after COVID with all the remote stuff? Because beforehand you just went in the room, talked with the people together. So how your onboarding changed for the newcomers and your scaled up teams? Who wants to take over?
Yeah, I can take this. In our bank, to be honest, like you can't actually work outside of Norway, so you have to be inside the Norway because we're not an international bank, maybe because of that. But hopefully, in the future, we're aiming that. But currently, we are working in a hybrid way where you can actually work from office or work from home a certain amount of time. So when it comes to onboarding, we try to onboard people physically. Like we have a buddy for the person that we're going to onboard. So that buddy is always going to be with him or her, and then will help about onboarding, as well as me as a team lead and engineering manager. So we are organizing all the stuff even before the new person joins the team, like the devices, accesses, and when the person joins the team, I'm helping from the technical side, like explaining about the architecture and everything, and giving some small tasks so that he or she can actually start immediately, as well as the buddy is helping. A buddy is always there, like he or she can ask anything to the buddy.
Any other one? Onboardings, how you do it?
Yeah, I recently onboarded at a company, and my experience was that they had a code lab for me. So it was, and the sample app for all the new joiners. So you follow the code lab, you learn the architecture of the project, but in a very small scale. Then you raise a pull request, then people review it. So it was like self-onboarding. They had videos that introduced to the tools, but at some point there's need for human contact, right? And that was what my onboarding body was for, and I thought that was really, really smooth. There was like instructions to set up everything from your GitHub access to your security SSH things, and all of these things were like in form of a code lab, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I agree to that. Having a code lab is quite nice, but
yeah, I would like to add also something that has worked very well for me when I get onboarded into a new company is doing pair programming, because you really start understanding how people work in the team. But when I say pair programming, I don't mean just one ticket or two. Like do for a couple of weeks pair programming. Of course, it's very exhausting. You have to do breaks and so on. But it has worked really extremely well, and after a couple of weeks, you have a very good understanding of the code base, and yeah, you know how people work in the team, and we are still doing programming twice a week, not onboarding, just as a normal process, and it's really recommend for onboarding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually also would like to link the previous question about something attractive, so because it comes together. So something attractive that I really find, at least to me, super important is that, for instance, in our team, we are a super diverse team that is located around the world. Now we have teams in US, like in Seattle, in San Francisco. Then we have in Germany, we have in Romania, we have in Taiwan. So I think this is like, you are ensuring that is a set of super diverse set of people, so different cultures, different way of work. This then definitely brings problems, new problems, no? About how to sync everything together, new hires, how they work with a person, I don't know, someone from East Coast works with a person that is in India, that is 13, 14 hours different, something like that. And then, so what we have, this is probably big, it's something that we benefit from because the way that we do things, and also our main task, no? That is kind of also working always with developers. I like what Segun has mentioned about the code lab, and it's also something that we have. We have, for instance, our public, that we work together with Google in a code lab about Jetpack Window Manager and foldables, and it's something exactly that new hires, they usually do. Then if they are working on other things, like for instance Xamarin, we also have created a code lab for that. And then, since we write a lot of documentation as well that is for developers, it's a really interesting and very valuable place to see and to learn. It's not something that, okay, we brought this library, but there is no documentation, check the test or check the API. Yeah, well, this is a magic word, it's easy to learn. But if you have a proper developer documentation with samples, with animation, with videos, since also we, for instance, do blog posts every week, Twitch stream every Friday, it's like, okay, you want to learn, watch the video. Actually, you are meeting also, kind of meeting the people, your colleagues, no? Because they are there in the video. So yeah, I wanted to add this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have groups of people onboarding per month. They usually start at the same time. And we have a similar code lab system, but the code lab is across. So there might be a web person or a backend person or an Android person doing the code lab. They all do what we call toy services or toy screen. And they all have their own new Node or new engineer Slack channel. So everybody's doing the code lab, even from different places in the whole structure. And they have a stand-up. They have an onboarding stand-up for all of those people that can say whatever their problems are. So there's the code lab, there's that, there's the videos that we've collected for the competency, and then there's the buddy as well, and then also within that small cross-functional team, they've got the people around them. So there are multiple access points, and then we expect more or less at the end of the first month for people to have explored that and had all of their training.
Any more points? If not, I will hand over to the next audience question.
Okay, hey. The question is going back a little bit to the platform and feature team relationship. And I'm wondering, how would you scale, or maybe you even did, multiple app development? So you're developing multiple apps. How would you scale the platform team for developing multiple apps, but the feature team still providing features for this multiple apps? So how would you scale the platform teams then?
Yeah, I can take this, I guess, because as you said, like, I think we don't have a platform team, and then we're developing for multiple apps right now. So how we're thinking is, since we're a monorepo app, like our apps are residing in the monorepo, we're sharing a lot of things. So I think it's really important to define the boundaries of who fixes what. Like the feature team is responsible for the feature modules, as well as like which kind of modules. The platform team is responsible for, like, I don't know, it's the theming library or if it's something else. So we're thinking of having it like setting the boundaries very well so that it's not collapsing. But at some point, of course, as we discussed, maybe it's going to collapse. But for us, I think, since we're a monorepo, it's maybe easier to just put that boundaries. But for other apps, I don't know.
Any other app or company?
Are these apps are they like product flavors or completely different code bases?
No, can be mixed. Same code base or different code base.
Okay, because
Let's say the same feature teams, but for different apps and different design of apps.
oh, yeah, that's much more difficult. Because I was going to say if it was for like different product flavors, because when I was on the platform team, we had like 7 apps, but it was the same app, just like different flavors, and it was relatively easier, but it was still more work. In this kind of case, honestly, I think you just have to scale the platform team. You cannot just have like you have to like match the amount of apps you have somehow. You could also have some advantage by having consistent patterns across the apps. For example, if you're modularized, you maintain a code owner file so that it's easy for the people in the platform team to know exactly what team this issue is affecting. So if they spot an issue, instead of them fixing all the time, they can already tell who owns this feature, and then they can go find them and create a ticket on their board or something. So they will be doing a lot of delegation because they simply cannot handle all of those across all the apps.
But you would rather scale the platform team instead of applying multiple platform teams?
Yes, because like they still have to share a lot of things. It's the same company, it's the same team, kind of, but different projects.
I think you mentioned something earlier that was interesting, your platform team that split into the performance team and the
developer experience team.
Yeah. Yes, and the developer experience team. So potentially what you could do there then is have like specialization parts, still have the same platform team, but maybe have the performance team work on multiple apps. So that would potentially be, I mean, I haven't done this, I'm just thinking that that would be a cool solution.
Yeah, for example, like one of the tasks I was working on was like I was trying to make us detect memory leaks across all our apps. It was not just one, it was 7 of them. And it was like the project of, I could only do that because I was focused on performance on this team. But if I was focused on performance, I was focused on the build, I was focused on code reviews, I was focused on architecture, we wouldn't be able to do it on the team. We just wouldn't.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Next question, please.
All right. Hello. The question is like to the general floor. Recently, you spoke about remote teams, and I was curious to know your opinions on like your developers, or how you would rate your productivity in terms of having teams coming on site or having teams remotely, and your personal preference between working remotely, completely remotely, partially, or on site, and what would influence your decision to either be remote or on site? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. I can start replying to this. For me, remote is very important because I have a small daughter and I want to take care of her. Sometimes my wife cannot, and I can just tell to my team, okay, I will be out 15 minutes, I need to take care of my daughter. And so for me, it's something very important working remotely, yeah.
I can take something. It's a bit like user experience where what my preference isn't necessarily what my teammates' preferences are. So I personally prefer remote because I hate sitting in the traffic. However, I have empathy for someone that needs to be in an office because they have a small daughter at home that's making a lot of noise, or they work better in a situation. So the best solution would be to be able to offer the choice. So if an engineer would prefer to be in the office all the time, because I don't know, in South Africa we have load shedding and the power goes off, and the office has power or the office has internet. The best solution would be if you can accommodate both.
I know I'm the moderator. I also have some opinion, just saying it once. So if the people on your team doesn't perform remote, it's not their fault. That I only want to raise, because in most cases it's the environment in the team who makes them less performant at one point. Probably the best tools wasn't bought for the team, or the processes they establish is not working remotely at all, or the meetings they do, the dailies. Because if you have a team doing these dailies, for example, if 80% of just staying in front of a camera at the same time in the same room and just talking to each other without really affecting the person in the remote way, of course the performance from this guy is not really the best from this person, what they can create out of it. So it's always both sides. It's not just a person who's remote failing at that point. It's in most cases really the management and the environment.
Okay,
That's
so
my one opinion. But I will hand over to the people again to ask something.
Okay, just for you then, you mean you would rather have like meetings personally if they were somewhat long, but if you had to work on code, you'd prefer that like on your own remotely. Is that what you mean?
No, the point is if we have a team, is one person of that is just on remote, all the person could join in with the same online session to have the same effects that you don't leave the person out purposely. It's not unpurposely, because you do it on purpose, that 5 people staying in a room talking with each other, probably with a bad mic, that the other person doesn't hear at all anything from them and can't really participate. For me, that's a respect also in the team, that you try to reach the point where everyone has the same possibility to do something. Or you have to talk email always with this person. But I don't know what the others thinking about.
Yeah, so we've got a rule about that, is that even if you're in an office together, if there's one person that's not there, then everybody goes on mic and laptop, you know, because, yeah.
My experience would be like, in our team, they're forgetting to add the room. So if there's a meeting, they're always adding the Teams meeting, but not the room. So the other way around. But personally, like I prefer to work remotely if I'm just coding. But at the same time, if I have a meeting, I prefer to have that meetings physically with my colleagues because of socialization. And it's working fine if you have a hybrid environment or remote environment. Otherwise, I think it's not really attractive for the company.
Okay.
I think one last question. I think we have 4 minutes left, if I'm not wrong. You can definitely talk with the people afterwards again, so they don't run away, I think. If not, I think also social media, you can contact them. But you get the last question.
All right, thank you, everyone. Related to scaling your platform team, how do you make your platform team more attractive to internal engineers instead of having to hire from outside?
We don't have a platform team.
Who else?
I mean, I can go. If we were going to attract people from the team to join the platform team, I think one of the fun ways to do it is to kind of like throw some of these tasks open. And they're like, oh, hey, sorry, we want to update our Gradle plugin. And can someone who is interested in this, like, throw it open? Oh, we want to use version catalog. Throw it open, and someone on the team who is interested can pick it up. And you can have a list of like tasks that are open that are related to the platform team work, but they're open for anyone to pick. And gradually people build interest and knowledge in that domain, and over time, they just absorb naturally into the platform team.
I cannot talk about exactly how to attract talent in a platform team. What I can refer, for instance, is that how to attract internal talent that they are working on different apps. So talking about Microsoft, that we have hundreds of apps, no? How you make attractive your team, no, to join people. I think it's always the product, not the product that you will. If it's something disruptive, it's something that is cool, that you know that is used by millions, or by, I'm talking always a large scale, no, because exactly the different apps and the different target of people. But always, I don't know, like internally, for instance, we have also our internal Android community, and it's always. I think for joining a different team, that you learn about this specific thing that they are doing, because maybe they are sharing things in the internal channels, internal community, because they're very similar as well to what you can show to attract external developers, no? Like he has mentioned before about engineering blogs and so on. So then you learn about what this team is doing. So for internally. For attracting people inside of the same company, I would say the same methodology, and I guess also it's kind of similar for attracting people to join the platform team. It's just you just have to make attractive what you are working on. I don't know, like a code base, language, tools, processes, people, diversity. Yeah, I will say that.
Okay, I hope that answered your question. I'm very happy. I have to thank all of you on the stage for being a good panelist, answering the questions, and hopefully you get everything what you wanted. And like I said, feel free to ask them and approach them to if you have some more deeper questions that you are shy to ask on the audience now. Thanks again for being here with me and helping us bring our experience to the people. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.